Hi, welcome to Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Robert Green, and joining me today, Phil Japixie. Hello, Phil.
Hey, Robert. How are you?
Fantastic. Welcome back on the show.
Thanks. Thanks
I
for having
think
me.
that beyond me and Leslie, of course, I think you've been on the show more than anybody else. Do you think that's
Oh. That it could be. We did a whole bunch of series back in the day.
yeah, back when we were still doing those series with you? Um, so, welcome again.
Thanks.
So, for anybody new to the show or who may have skipped any of the episodes you were in, give us a brief intro of who you are.
Well, should we just pause, let them go watch it, and then we can continue?
No.
Okay. So my name's Phil Japixie. I'm a longtime Microsoft MVP. My day job is I am the CTO for Pintus and Mullins. We're a national personal injury firm, and I've written a whole bunch of books. This is my last book that I've written. I've gotten out of the book writing biz.
Okay.
It's a lot of work, but it's still relevant, and we speak a lot. So you can see me at VS Live, at any of the VS Lives, and
Mhm.
at some of your local code camps.
Awesome. And today we are going to talk about testing and specifically the live unit testing feature of Visual Studio.
Correct.
I think we can never talk enough about testing because too many times we don't test and too many times we don't test well enough. So anything we can do to move the needle on both of those, I think is good.
Well, I think I'm going to correct you on one thing. We always test. Sometimes we test in production, right?
Okay. So if I run the app to confirm it works, is that considered a test?
That is a test. Yeah,
Okay.
it builds and compiles and can run.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
but no, my snarkiness aside. I think too often we wait for our users to file a bug report
Yeah.
and to go fix it, as opposed to being more proactive.
Right. So we don't proactively test enough.
Correct.
I will say that. I can't speak for others, but I know that's certainly true with me.
Yeah, shipping's a feature, as
Yep.
Scott Guthrie once said long ago, and sometimes we've kind of intentionally add technical debt by not putting in a test because we're under pressure and deadlines and things like that. But typically, that'll come back to bite you. Not always, right? But it can. And one of the nice things about live unit testing is there's friction in testing, right? You have to write the test. And whether you're doing TDD, which is test-driven development, or test-driven design, whichever, moniker you want to attribute to it, or TED, which is test eventual development, where you write your code and then write your test afterwards,
Mhm.
you still have to run those tests, right?
Yes.
As a developer, I still have to consciously go and either run all unit tests or run the specific tests I'm under and then hope I didn't introduce any side effects. Certainly, we can put tests into our pipelines, whether you're using Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions. You can, in your CI/CD CD pipeline, you can have it run those tests also.
Mhm.
So those are all valuable things. But one of the problems with all of those is we don't get the instant feedback, right?
Right.
I don't find until I check in and the pipeline runs, oh, I introduced, I broke 5 tests. Or, I do a bunch of code. I don't want to break. I'm in the zone, right? And I'm banging on the keyboard and I'm getting stuff written. I don't want to then stop, go find my test explorer window and run it,
Right.
right? And we should, but we don't always. So one of the really nice features and why we're here is to talk about the live unit testing capability built into Visual Studio,
Right.
Visual Studio Enterprise to be specific. And I am using an insider build of 2026.
Okay.
It's very stable, and what we're doing is not overly complex, so we'll be fine. But if there is a glitch in the demo, I'm going to blame the insider build. No, just kidding. So let me set the stage a little bit here. I've got a very simple calculator service on the left, right? It's just
Mhm.
add, subtract, divide, multiply. And then I've got some tests around it. Now I can go over here and I can right click and I can say run the tests, and it's going to open the test window somewhere. right? It's going to discover them. It's going to run them, and I'm already not green. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was checking my testing capabilities. Well, anyway, so the test showed us that I messed up. Right, save this file, run the test, and we should go back to green. All right, ooh, right? Awesome. So let's try and get that feedback shorter. I'm gonna do two things, right?
You just kind of demonstrated it because you had to interrupt your coding. You had to go over to the Solution Explorer, right click, run a test, or find the Test Explorer window, manually run the test. And that's awesome, but it's kind of a context switch and it kind of interrupts you.
Correct. Sorry, I was on a roll. Interject anytime you want. Um, if you ever watch Robert and I on the show, we know this is we banter a lot, so this is kind of our MO.
Get them out of context switch.
Yes. So, all right, so let's get two things handled at once. One, I want to know which code is covered by tests. So I want to know code coverage, and I want to get that visual feedback in my IDE editor. And I also want to know that my tests are passing. And we do that by going up here to tests. And there's this option live unit testing. And again, I'm just going to stress this is an enterprise feature. And we're simply going to say start. We'll talk about options later. Here's my root where the testing will run. There's my workspace, and a workspace is just where it holds data, right? You don't want it in the same solution as your project, and the defaults are almost always perfect. So let's just finish, and then we have a playlist. So if I go down to the playlist, I want to include all tests, and it's going to discover what tests I have in the project. So here's all the tests it discovered. It ran them. I am green across the board. We can go in here. We could actually edit the playlist and take some tests out. But let me show you a better way to do that in a little bit. And let's look at our tests. We're green all the way down. Now I am using XUnit. This works with XUnit, NUnit, and MS Tests. So you can pick your testing framework. And then let's go to our service. And we have check marks. So these check marks show that not only do the tests that cover the code pass, but it's covered. So every one of these lines in here is green because we've got coverage. So let's do this. Let's comment that out. And notice I didn't even save the file, right? And it like tried to run it again, but we're still green. Why is that? Oh, because I have a build failure. So a failed build means all of your tests fail. So we got to make sure the build passes. I still haven't saved the file, but it picked up the change in my tests and then came over here and said this line is no longer covered. It's got a minus by it.
Okay.
Questions?
Does that mean so the test would
Well, the test passes because there's nothing in here that's
nothing happening, but you're now told in real time by that dash that you're not covering that code.
correct.
Okay, cool.
So if we look up here, let me just close the Solution Explorer. So this line here covers here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that covered this other one.
Okay.
But since I commented it out, we're no longer under test. So if I do this, it's going to be green. It passes because I have no assert, right? This doesn't prevent you from writing a bad test.
Okay.
And I do this, and let's just flip these around like this. And we're going to see that this line's no longer covered, but everything still passes.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Let's go back to what I had before and let's make it fail. And now we see that the code that I have here, the test covering it has failed. So it's covered by a test, but the test failed. So then I would know to go to the test. I can either just, click reference, go here to the test and say, oh, I introduced a bug.
Okay. So the pro of this is that it's running in the background and it's checking in real time for your coverage and your test passing. There
Correct.
seemed to be a bit of a delay as you're typing. So, is that good? Is it bad? Discuss that a little bit.
It's not a delay that I notice so much because you typically aren't going to type one line of code and then sit back and wait. Type one line of code, sit back and wait. Right? You're in a flow.
Okay.
And so let's do this. Right? So I'm going to be test driven. So I'm going to create a fact. Thank you, Copilot. And it's going to be a public void exponentation. Let's see if I can spell on camera. And I'm not going to let Copilot fill it out. Actually, you know what? I am. That's fine. So now I have a test, and this is This is why I didn't want Copilot to do it. I'm not even calling my system under test. Yeah, it's a passing test. All I'm doing is writing a test around the math library. So I don't want to do that. So I want to do my system under test, and that's just a naming convention we use. Sorry, I have to complete the solution on my other screen. So this is my one frustration. The test is still marked green, but I can't compile. I try and compile,
Right. You don't.
Control Shift B.
Yeah.
I don't have that method in existence. So now it comes back and says these aren't run. So the live unit testing doesn't reset if it can't compile. All right, so there's my test. So let's cover it. So I think this is going to be fine. It is. I've written my method and it passes.
Beautiful.
Make sense?
Yeah. So
Nice.
so in this fairly small application with a small number of tests and a small amount of code, the delay is fairly short. What if you were working on a gigantic solution? Would it be true that every time you make any change, all the tests run, or is that when you would use the playlists?
So this isn't gigantic, but here's my design pattern solution from our design pattern show. And I have a whole bunch of tests in here, right? So all my design patterns have tests around them. And so let's go to live unit testing. I think I already have it turned on. Yeah, I already have it turned on. So let's go and see. I think we can watch the output window. These didn't rerun. The only one that ran were the tests that are covering the affected code.
Ah, okay. There we go. So then your delay is typically not going to be that big. And if you find that you have if you have a bunch of tests that are causing a delay, you could always kind of separate them out, right?
Correct.
And get down to just the tests, a manageable number of tests that aren't causing a huge delay if that's an issue. I also saw a pause capability. So if you're going to be making tons of changes, you can always pause the live unit testing,
Yep.
run your code, then go run your tests and then turn it back on.
Correct.
So you have the ability to kind of optimize it for your situation.
Now there's another thing I want to show you. So let me rearrange the casseroles. So let's say that we have a test that is very long running. And this is public void long running tests. And we're going to do task dot delay. Oh, so sync task. And we're going to, oh, wait, maybe if I can type. Why am I screwing up so bad? Cannot await. Oh, sorry. This is one I didn't pre-bake. All right. Why are you yelling at me? Oh, it's telling me that I should not put a task delay in a test. Go figure. Well, it's going to run this, but that's even a longer delay. So let's say we have an integration test, something that's hitting a database or hitting an API. We don't want that running every time we change our code. So what we can do is we can add a trait, and XUnit uses traits. If we were in NUnit or MS test, we'd use a category, and we'd think that we could do long running true. However, that doesn't work because I pasted the wrong thing. I wasn't going to paste that one, but there we go. We added a little narrative around it. Built into live unit testing, if the category is skip when live unit testing, aptly named, then it won't run with the live unit test.
Oh, okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in this comment here, and I'll send you where actually, you know what? The code sample it's on my blog, the link
Okay.
to the GitHub. And if you look at my Twitter handle, Ski Medic, it's for snow ski because I'm a national ski patroller. I've been so for 30 years. No, this is my 30th, by the way, Robert. And then I'm a retired firefighter paramedic. So in X unit, we use this trait. In N unit, we just use a category. MS test, we use a test category, and it'll skip when live unit
Ah,
testing,
cool.
right? And so it shows that it didn't get covered by live unit testing here.
Mhm.
I can still run it.
But now all of your code on the left shows not being covered, is that right?
Well, that's because I paused it. No, it's because I did something else. What did I do? Interesting. Yeah, so that was supposed to happen. So let me do this. It's a great example. So we're gonna stop. We're gonna go to test. We're going to live unit testing. We're gonna reset live unit testing state for solution. What that does is delete that folder that it created for me.
Mhm.
This happens every so often, even on a small project like this when I'm bouncing around doing lots of stuff. So then I start doing the live unit testing again. Go down here. I'm going to include all tests.
Okay.
Yep. And then we're back.
Got it. Cool.
So I've got 6 tests that are covered. I've got 1 that is skipped,
Mhm.
right? And none that are failing.
Excellent.
This attribute can also be applied at so if I put it here at the class, it's going to skip the entire class.
Okay.
Or if you've got an entire assembly of integration tests, like we separate our integration tests from our unit tests. So we've got a whole separate project that's integration testing. So we know, don't just run these, right?
Right.
So then what we can do is we can put an assembly attribute, and there's a number of ways you can do it. I'm just throwing it in here. I have these backwards. And then that means the entire assembly will be ignored by the live unit testing.
Okay.
Okay.
That is awesome.
Well, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? The thing that to note is that sometimes it kind of loses its mind, and you just go up and do it.
Don't we
Raises the whole
all?
thing. Yes, don't we all? There's one other thing that I will bring up that with X units doesn't work very well. Let me bring it over from this project. So you can make a file. Okay, well, we're just going to cheat. Add new item, XML file, add. We're going to go back into Solution Explorer. We have to name this file dot run settings. And then what we can do is we can paste in some configuration information for our tests. Now, there's a lot more that you can do. XUnit ignores most of it, but that's why I put here the link. So let me bring that over to this page. Well, while it's thinking, let's just look at it. So max CPU count, so you can cut down on parallelism if you want to, depending on if you've written clean unit tests. What I mean by clean unit tests is they're all item potent. They all run by themselves. They're not order dependent, and you can actually use all your CPUs, but maybe you don't want to. Where you want the results to go, that's the default target platform. I'm on a Wintel machine. Framework version, this is a .NET 8 project, so you can just do .NET 8. And then there is an attribute for ignoring test categories, but it ignores the ignore. Let me see if the web page loaded yet. It didn't want to load. Anyway, the link's in there. It's not loading for whatever reason. Here is a link to the XUnit docs where you can configure the run settings, and it tells you what it will honor, what it won't honor. We use live unit testing in real life. We don't use a run settings file, and everything works fine.
Okay.
But I wanted to be complete and bring it up that it is an option that you can tweak.
Okay. So since you started using the live unit testing, how much of a big improvement and benefit do you think it's provided? So obviously you'd recommend everyone use it.
Yeah, targeted. right? So we do use the application. Our biggest application is our case management application, and it's a legacy code, it's web forms, it's a whole lot of really bad code that we're moving to, MVC5 so then we can move it to core.
Okay.
So we have a lot of integration tests in there that I don't want running all the time. Um, so we do heavily use that trait to ignore things.
Mhm.
But there's a finance module in there that I was just rewriting over the past month, and I turned on live unit testing for the finance module, and it was great to be able to go, "Oh, wait a minute, oops, I just broke something." It helps me immensely. I am fanatical about testing, but that means I'm still not as good as I should be, right? But it's also a reminder if I don't see that code coverage mark, what is it? Free solo climbing, solo whatever the climbers do when they don't use
Right.
the rope, and
Yep.
so it's been a huge benefit to me.
All right. Awesome. Any last thoughts on it before we wrap up?
No, I would try it out small, right? Use that trait or the category, depending on your testing framework, liberally at first, so you have
Mhm.
like a targeted thing and get comfortable with it. Find out what you like, what you don't like. Everybody has a different workflow, but I think it'll certainly add value to everyone who's doing testing. If you're not doing testing, go back, watch our testing series, start doing testing, and then turn on live unit testing.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on and showing this. That's
Yeah,
really
thanks for having me again.
all right. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and we will see you next time on Visual Studio Toolbox.